Debates last night cut short. Tell us more about what happened.
Yes, Alex, I was there in the spin room at that Sun News debate where, not in the actual studio, but with the teams of those who went alongside to spin for their candidates after the event. Well, the room went suddenly incredibly silent, and a great deal of concern spread across the politicians and journalists in that room. It quickly became apparent that it wasn't some technical fault, but a medical issue, and our hearts really went out to Kate McCann and everyone else in that studio. It was a scary time for a moment, but what it did do was curtail a debate that was somewhat less feisty than the one the night before. Of course, on Monday night we saw Rishi Sunak interrupt Liz Truss a lot. Amongst at least Conservative voters and Conservative members, was polled by two different polling organisations to have seemed to have done worse in that debate. So he was slightly more relaxed, slightly less jumpy for the first half at least of yesterday's debate before it was pulled off air. And interestingly, not so vicious in terms of the attacks against Liz Truss. Instead, when offered the opportunity to ask her a question, he asked her how her birthday was, rather than going after any of the attack points he had before. So was this potentially the beginning of a new, less acrimonious period in this leadership race? Well, I suppose that remains to be seen, because of course today we've returned to policy. New policy, a tax cut from Rishi Sunak, who of course said no tax cuts until inflation was down only a couple of days ago. That's perceived to be a U-turn by many, but also Liz Truss pushing forward on her crackdown on crime policy too. So we really are going to see more policy and probably a little bit less personality attacks as this race goes on.